Hello, hello. Afternoon, afternoon. Stuffy DNS. Yeah, I was a few minutes late, and what? Welcome everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. If you didn't join us for FP3, where were you? It doesn't matter because you're here for the all-important session, which is qualifying, which will be getting underway very soon. But I'm very well, thank you guys. I'm very well. Looking forward to this session. And then the race tomorrow. Who's going to be on pole position? We'll see. You thought there was a transponder issue with myself. G'day, g'day. Merkel Ferrari shirt for race day. Oh, we'll see, we'll see. Probably the Ferrari shirt. Probably Ferrari. Or I haven't worn my Red Bull one for a while. I need to wear my Red Bull one. I need to get more use out of that. Because they've announced a partnership as well with, who is it? Adidas, I think. So this year's version with Castor is the last year they'll be with them. I know, fingers crossed, no track map issues this time around. It was okay in FP3, and it will hopefully be okay in qualifying. It was like that last week in Monaco, though, wasn't it? But I think Monaco is a bit unique, although it's the first time we've ever had that, where we didn't have any track map at all. Monaco is a little bit unique because of it being in such a built-up area. GPS data can get a bit lost, and there'll be issues. But, yeah, hopefully we don't have anything, a repeat like that from any other race in the future. But welcome everyone, I am very good, hope you are well. If you didn't tune in for FP3, yes, didn't do any watch-alongs for Friday because work has been very busy. I'm off on holiday soon, so I had to do a handover, so I had lots and lots to get done to leave my job in a good position for when I return. So yeah, unable to do that, but we're here we did FP3 and then we're here for qualifying, and then we'll be here for the race tomorrow before we go on a well-earned break. Myself personally, anyway, in between. I've timed my holiday in between races, so you should be thankful for that, guys. You should be thankful for it. Is the heat going to affect qualifying much? Well, not so much the drivers, but it will affect the tyres. The hotter it is, the less duration the soft tyres are going to last for. So much so, we may see one of the lower teams try sticking on the medium. It will leave them susceptible in the race though, but I think we'll see someone try the medium compound tyre here today, because I don't think I think some teams might struggle to get the best out of the soft tyre. It might not last a whole lap duration just because of how hot it is, because of this the nature of this circuit, because tyres do degrade here. And I think that's potentially what we could see. Just like we have seen in the past, someone take a bit of a gamble and qualify higher than they necessarily should on their overall pace. Morning from New Zealand. Good to see you, Leclerc. What time is it in New Zealand? You're up late, aren't you? You're up late. You're committed. Good to see you. Red Bull has the fastest PU, yet 6 tenths behind today, according to the FIA. I know, right, Sibu? I know. You can't solely be based upon the battery. But yeah, I don't buy that. I think just like how they measure the pit lane speed limit in Monaco, I think it's the same way that they're measuring their power unit effectiveness. Why weren't I here for FP1, FP2? Because I still have a day job, so this isn't full time, contrary to what people may think. If this was full-time, you would see a lot more content on the channel as well, because I would have a lot more time in the week to cover other stories, other happenings in Formula 1 and so forth. Sim racing, I might even get back into sim racing if I did this full-time. But yeah, I'd still have a day job, which pays the bills, and that has to take priority. So I try and make every session that I can on a Friday, but sometimes, yeah, work gets in the way. My job's all good. My job's all good. So yeah, just busy at the moment. Any news on Kimi driving erratically in FP3? I don't know. Let's have a quick check. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to say no. For some reason my keyboard isn't working. Am I going to watch Le Mans? Probably not, no. I'll keep an eye on it, but I always kind of forget it's on and I'm busy. I'm quite busy at the moment trying to fit loads of last minute bits in for packing and yeah. For a sport where precision matters, the FIA sure don't measure precisely sometimes. That is bang on, Jarvis. That is bang on. Surely after the mess in Monaco, all those unfair penalties, don't I think the points for that race are unsound and should be zeroed? I don't know. As I said, it opens a can of worms up for Gasly. It's difficult. So I did hear earlier, actually, that Red Bull and McLaren have appealed the decision. And they haven't appealed the decision in the sense of that they want their penalties rescinded. They want the decision that they've given to Alpine reverted back. Because they took the penalties and they served the penalties, they are of the mind basically saying, well, yeah, we served the penalties. This is... well, Red Bull actually didn't even serve a penalty. So they're saying, well, we were able to navigate this without receiving a penalty. Why should we be penalised for it and have a podium revoked? McLaren have said, well, we served the penalty, rightfully so, because we understand how there can always be a slight variance in the way that the speed in the pit lane is monitored and measured, and they basically want them to reinstate their positions because, of course, Piastri's lost a place because of Gasly being promoted back up from 7th to 3rd, and of course Hadjar has lost a podium and Red Bull have lost a trophy. So that is their opinion. It's a different. It's an interesting route, but of course that whether they think the penalties were fair or not, they've lost out by Gasly gaining, haven't they? Do I think Hulk's penalty was unfair? No, I think Hulk knew what he was doing. I think he was trying. I think Hulk could have been a bit more careful. Yes, the field was backed up, but I do think that Hulk was to blame for that. And he tried. It looked like he was trying to sneak up the inside of Sainz and be a bit opportunistic. Yes, Sainz kind of turns back in a little bit, but Hulkenberg, I think, is trying to manoeuvre his car there alongside Sainz, and that he made contact, and I think he could have avoided that. He might be better than Hamilton, Verstappen, and Schumacher by the end of his career. Let's slow it down. He's only 19. Yes, age is on his side. But as we know in Formula 1, there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to dominate for that long. And that the team that you're in is going to be able to dominate for that long. Of course, the best drivers end up in the best teams, in the best cars. But it's not necessarily a given that anyone will dominate. And maybe F1 don't want someone to dominate. Like Liberty Media, I don't want someone to dominate year on, year out. Because necessarily for the brand of the sport and from a business perspective, it's not great, is it? Although, of course, you do want new superstars to come through into the sport because it brings in fans, it generates money. But close competition is better for business. Could it be beginner's luck for Antonelli? I mean, luck's definitely on his side, but I wouldn't say beginner's luck. I feel like sometimes beginner's luck is... I don't know. I interpret beginner's luck as someone who's not necessarily worth... Like, they're not overly talented, if you get my thinking. Like, you say, oh, it's beginner's luck because they've just started and they're not, like, overly great. That's the way I kind of interpret it. Whereas Kimi Antonelli is good. That's undeniable. He wouldn't have won 5 races in a row, regardless of age, if he wasn't good enough. Is the clock too small? Can you not see that? I'll make it bigger for you. There you go. I'm just waiting for live data. Right car at the right time for Kimi, just like Hamilton and Max. Yeah. I mean, it's the case for everyone. What I would say about Max compared to Kimi and Hamilton is that Max wasn't in a championship-winning car in his second season. He started in Alpha, not even Alpha Tauri at the time, was it? What was it called? Toro Rosso. God, how many name changes have they had? He started in Toro Rosso, and then what was it? A year and a half later, I think it was. A year later, it was up into Red Bull. And it took Red Bull 4 years before he could get a championship-winning car, from 2017 or 5 years, from 2017 to 2021. So, he didn't have that, whereas Hamilton and Kimi did. Kimi didn't have a championship-winning car in his first season, but he's now got one in his second. Hamilton had a championship-winning car in his first season and his second season. So yeah, as we know, F1 is a career game as much as it is, of course, a talent game, a driving game of out on track. You have to position yourself in the right teams, in the right cars at the right time. And an example of someone who has failed at that miserably is Fernando Alonso, because Fernando Alonso should have more than 2 world championships, in my opinion. And look at where he is, look at who he went to, look at the decisions he made, look at the teams improving once he left. I mean, maybe that's a common denominator, and a common factor is that he was a disruptor, and teams improved when he left because that disruption left with him. But he's someone who has made the wrong decisions, isn't he? And arguably should have more world championships. Can I do the sectors in colour? Unfortunately, I'm not going to do that. What we have done, though, Stephen, you can't quite see it right now, but what we have done is that we have darkened or greyed out the middle. The middle sector is a different shade to Sector 1 and Sector 3. So Sector 1 and Sector 3 begins at the start-finish line and ends at the start-finish line. So the second sector I have decided to shade differently, so you know where the sectors end and where they begin. So you'll be able to see that. But I like it not when you add too much color. When you add colors on this, it's my personal preference, and I'm the boss. Sorry, guys. Actually, I'm not apologizing. I'm the boss. I am the captain now. I like a clean track map. For me, it's just my preference, and at least we can see the different. Having too many different colors on here with all the. Bearing in mind, it's also making sure that the colors don't clash with the team icons, the driver icons, all the sectors and so all the flags and so forth. I just like a clean track map. Will the track map work this weekend? Let's hope so. Let's hope so. That's what I'm hoping for. Just looked at the tyres Perez used. Almost scrubbed 5 medium tyres in FP3. Hulk only one close to use of 3 medium tyres. All others just soft, saving for quality in the race. Yeah, I don't even think they'll be using them for the race. The soft won't be a race tyre. We discussed this earlier. I don't think the softs are going to last long enough. I think this is shaping up to be a 2-stop race with a potential 3-stop. And they'll could work very well potentially use. They'll have to use a set of scrubbed mediums in that as well, because the softs just aren't going to last longer than 5 laps, I think. Like it's just the pace drop off is going to be so substantial when it comes to the race, even towards the end of the race, where you think, oh, maybe we'll stick on a set of softs. I don't think they'd last 10 laps. That's just the nature of this circuit and the track temps that we've seen this weekend. What are my podium predictions? I said. And I don't know, I'm still unsure about P3, and I'll explain my reasons for P3. I think George Russell P1, Kimi P2. I think it's going to be those two fighting for the win, just like in Canada. Hopefully they give us a show like Canada, and hopefully both of them will be able to make it to the end. I just think Mercedes is too dominant rounds here. It just suits their car down to a T. And then third place, I said Lewis Hamilton, just because I think he's on a good run of form. I know Ferrari were going to be subpar to probably McLaren and Red Bull this weekend. But I don't know. I just feel like with some reliability issues that are plaguing those two at the moment, there's an opportunity for Hamilton to just... Because also, I didn't pick Leclerc because I think Hamilton just has been on that better run of form as well. There's an opportunity for him to just pick up P3 just by kind of keeping it clean and sticking in there. But I don't know. I feel like if McLaren, by the looks of it, from what we've seen, if McLaren keep it clean, and, well, if they finish the race, basically, if they keep it, don't have any reliability issues, I think they will probably pick up 3rd place. It looks like the Mercedes-powered units are, or at least at the top of the grid, are faring quite well. Me, a collab with P1? I mean, if they invite me on the podcast, I wouldn't say no. Of course, we do things differently with our watch-alongs, that's for sure. But I do listen to the guys. Just subscribe, I know. Please hit that subscribe button, guys. Much appreciated. If you are new here, welcome, welcome. If you have returned and you're yet to hit that subscribe button, please do. What's been holding you back? Trying to hit 100,000 subscribers. I know subscribers aren't the be-all and end-all, but I would like to get that silver play button that I can put right here and have on show. It's just a testament to the success of the channel and the great community that we have here and we have grown here. So yeah, big thank you, everyone. It's getting hotter. It's, oh yeah, wowee. It's 50 degrees track temperature. That is not going to bode very well for qualifying. The teams have already been struggling. The only difference is that the tyres may, well, then again, they're going to be leaning on those tyres very hard. Very hard. This is why the gaps could be, this is why we could see quite a wide field spread in lap time here. Because if a team, when the track is this hot and the track is this long, if teams, you're going to have some teams that really are able to stay on top of the tyres temperature-wise and keep them in a good window. And then you're going to have some who just cannot keep it in a good temperature window. The tyres fall off a cliff before the end of the lap and they just lose so much time. So I think we're going to see quite a field spread here in lap time. And that could possibly even be the case as well at the top of the standings between the top 4 teams. But we will see. Not long to go. 9 minutes remaining until quali gets underway. Get your votes in of who you think is going to get on pole position. The pole for pole. We have Kimi Antonelli, George Russell, Norris or Piastri. I only get 4 options, so I have to group guys together. Kimi and Russell, 2 favourites to get on pole, let's be real, in the Mercedes. Norris or Piastri, I've grouped the 2 McLarens together. And then I've gone Verstappen, Leclerc and Hamilton together. Of course, when I do these polls, I'll group things based upon obviously what we see throughout the weekend and during the course of the season. But at the moment, interestingly, 35% of you think either Verstappen, Leclerc or Hamilton's going to get involved. A lot of faith on those 3 drivers. Kimi is next best at 27%, George Russell 25%, so not a lot separating those 2. And Norris and Piastri languishing at the back with 13%. I'm personally going to go George Russell. I think he's had that extra practice session. He does seem to have... I mean, it's a bit of a shame we didn't get to see a proper push lap from Antonelli in FP3 because he was not impeded, but he got held up in traffic. And I think Russell might just be in a better groove at the moment. That's not to say that Antonelli can't switch it on and it won't be close between them, but I think Russell will probably get pole. First time back this season, Tiger. You've been listening from time to time, though. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Definitely won't be doing multiple warm-up laps. No way. No, it'll be 1 push lap. And look, the temperature's still rising. Track temp is 50.7. It's getting hotter out there. Some teams will be loving that. Some teams won't. Hot batteries will make it interesting. I mean, yeah, we could even see some mechanical issues in qualifying. That's not out of the realm of possibility. Kimi and Lando were the only one building their laps. Lewis also didn't do FP1 either, did he? I don't think. Did he not do FP1? There's a few drivers out there, of course, didn't do FP1 because of the rookie test this weekend. So that's why they might be slightly off the pace compared to others. 50/50 engine sucks. I mean, it's not ideal, is it? Let's be real. It's too much too soon. The technology is not there. Although they have announced that we are going 58-42 split for 2027 and 60-40 by 2028. That's what they've recently agreed upon, the manufacturers. So we'll see if that makes an improvement. I think that's too little, to be honest. But they want to do it incrementally. They don't want to make such big changes straight away. It will be better. But I've said before, I still think the battery should be there as a supporting tool rather than a fundamental tool, which it currently is. Kimi gave way for rookie. Yeah, Kimi did. Lewis did. Norris did. There was a few others. As I said, I didn't tune into FP1, so I didn't pay too much attention to it. The Ferrari delusion in the pole is mental. It's either Ferrari or Verstappen delusion. I don't. There's nothing that I've seen that makes me think they can get on pole position unless there is a real balls up from Russell and Antonelli. Even then, I mean, Charles did set a decent lap in FP3 and split the two McLarens, but I don't see. Yeah, I don't. There's nothing that I've seen that even shows that Ferrari and Red Bull can even match the pace of Mercedes. It's one thing to match the pace of McLaren, but it's Mercedes we're talking about here. My qualifying prediction, I think George P1. Kimi P2, and I think. I think personally P3 is going to be one of the McLarens. It could be either or. They both look good. They both look to be on similar pace. I will say Norris. I'll say Norris. I'll say Norris for P3. But I would not be surprised to see Piastri there as well. There's not been a lot to separate them this in practice this weekend. And I feel like that's been the case every time we came here over the last couple of years as well. They both like this track. And yeah, I think that'll be it. I think it'll be the two Mercedes front row, two McLaren second row. I'd be surprised if Leclerc. I'll be surprised if a Ferrari or Max in that Red Bull will be able to split the McLarens, to be honest with you, because they do seem to be off the pace. Why does this have to be the exact same time as the start of Le Mans? Oh, is it? I'll tune into that afterwards. I'm going to the gym after this. So I will, while I go for a run, I will probably put them on.
While I go for a run?
Thanks. On a treadmill, not road running. Hope Kimi gets pole. Would be lovely to see him get another pole and 6 wins in a row. Well, let's see if he can do it. If anyone saw the F2 race earlier, it was an interesting start, or an interesting race actually, and it did show how the tyres can fall off there even in the sprint race. So this is going to be an interesting session. I think we're going to see some mediums on a Cadillac or a Aston Martin here. I think they're going to roll the dice and they're going to try and go for a harder compound tyre, as I said, medium, to try and get through here. Try something different. Love the heckling from the missus. Don't egg her on. Don't egg her on. Kimi should get pole and destroy Russell's mindset. Well, I think it will. If Kimi gets pole, I don't think it will destroy Russell's mindset as long as George is on the front row, because it's, as we said, there's an opportunity to slipstream here down into the first corner and lead. So starting on the second row isn't the end of the world. But yeah, George will be disappointed, but he won't. I don't think he'll see it as the end of the world. It's going to be a long day tomorrow, a very long day, with minimum a 2-stop, potentially 3-stop, probably some safety cars sprinkled in. It's definitely a race to tune into tomorrow. track temperature's up to 51.7 degrees. As we've been chatting over the last 10 minutes, it's gone up 2 degrees. Ooh, that is hot. That is hot, hot, hot. So that is not going to help these soft compound tyres, and some of these teams will be hoping for that to come down, because that's not going to help their chances at all. I did hear James Vowles state that they're struggling in these hot temps. So Williams, keep an eye on them. I think it's going to be struggle city for Haas and Williams to get out of Q1 here. This is a pretty bad track for overtaking. I disagree, actually. I think what we've seen in the past, unfortunately, here, is that because you do have a mixture of high-speed corners and low-speed corners, what we've had for the ground-affected era in particular is the dirty air was so severe and the tyres were so durable that you needed a significant pace delta on the car in front. You needed over a second advantage on the car in front to be able to get past them. We also had only one really kind of proper effective DRS zone, whereas we have seen the overtake mode be effective this year, which can be used all around the race circuit. And I think for that reason, we will see more overtaking, just like how we have seen quite a lot of overtaking, even if it's a bit of yo-yoing. Like we've seen overtakes this year. We've seen some wheel-to-wheel action, more so than any other kind of in recent memory that I can think of for Formula One. And I think that'll be the case here. And we've also, I'm just excited to see strategy. But we haven't had a two-stop race this year. Every single race, we've had 6 rounds, and every single race has been a one-stop. How boring has that been? So I'm intrigued to see how the strategy unfolds, and that always provides us some intrigue in racing, and that's what we need. And I think we're going to see a variety of strategies be developed tomorrow. As I said, with probably some safety cars or VSCs, because we've seen the reliability issues that have plagued teams this year, and that is going to provide teams an opportunity to make some cheap pit stops. Some will benefit, some will not. And especially with multiple pit stops on offer tomorrow on the cards, I think that's, definitely going to provide a good race as well as some overtaking. Right, here we go, guys. Q1 is underway. Welcome on this Saturday afternoon. Thank you for joining us here for the Barcelona Grand Prix. No longer the Spanish Grand Prix. That has been replaced by Madrid, which will be going to, for the first time ever, a brand new purpose-built race circuit in, well, I say purpose-built race circuit. It's kind of like, is it temporary? I don't know. But it's purpose-built to a degree, a Tilke-designed racetrack. And we'll be heading there in September. Barcelona will then go onto rotation. We will not see Barcelona for another 2 years until 2028, as it'll be on rotation with Spa. Diabolical, if you ask me, but hey-ho, here we are. So, Q1 underway. We have 17 minutes remaining here. We have Bottas, Ocon, Behrman, Sainz, Albon, Stroll, and Alonso out there. Fernando Alonso potentially racing at his last Barcelona Grand Prix. Who knows if he will see the next time we come here in 2028. Of course, not getting any younger, is he? We will see. But not a very busy race circuit at the moment. Tyres are going to be hurting here. They're going to be screaming at this very, very hot race track. 50.7 degrees Celsius at the moment. And a mixture of corners, high speed, low speed. And, well, these cars on the limit. At least we like to think they're on the limit. No doubt there'll be hopefully not some lift and coast, but we will see with the changes that have been made over the course of this season. That might limit that, and we'll see drivers more on the limit and making the difference at this circuit. Watch everyone start on the hards tomorrow. Maybe. I think it'll be mediums. Everyone will start on the mediums tomorrow. So everyone out, I believe, on the softs right now. No, Esteban Ocon. Now, we haven't got confirmation of it on the track map, but I think they're on the mediums, Ocon and Behrman. I think Ocon and Behrman are actually on the mediums. So we will see how their lap times get on here. Of course, they'll be setting the benchmarks. Sainz and Albon on the softs, as is Alonso. And there we go. Confirmation there for Ocon on the mediums. Behrman on the mediums, I think, as well. I can see it on the TV coverage, but Ocon is definitely on the mediums, on the yellow walled tyre. So we'll see how they fare. Bearman also on the set of mediums, so they're rolling the dice here. They know that they're in a bit of a struggle at the moment. They're in a bit of dip of form, aren't they, Haas? And even though Ocon scored a point in Monaco, his pace really wasn't there. Fortunate, of course, with all the freebies and the penalties that were dished out and the retirements that occurred. Picked up a decent amount of points, 2 points at Monaco, but on overall pace, they have definitely dropped behind some of the midfield teams, as not a lot to separate Ocon and Bearman. Only 4 hundredths of a second separating them, but Sainz on the softs goes quicker. But it may take an extra lap or so for those mediums to come up to temperature and in the right operating window. They're not necessarily going to be able to be switched on straight away, but I imagine it won't take them long on those mediums. Hards aren't that bad. Still a racing tyre. We're talking so fairly soft, especially if it's a hot track. Yeah, the hards will work tomorrow, I think. Spa removed. They hate good tracks, or what? They hate. Well, it's not about the fact they hate good tracks. They hate tracks that don't pay enough money. That's what it all comes down to with Formula One and Liberty Media. By freeing up a couple of European race circuits and putting them on rotation, you, to a certain degree, still satisfy the fans, because it's technically still on the calendar. You just have to wait an extra year for it to return. And you also free up an extra opportunity for a spot on the calendar for double the price that European race circuits, or the historic race circuits, pay. So it all comes down to money and business decisions. Russell's going to mount a comeback. We will see. Get your votes in. I'm going to end the poll, actually, for pole position. And, well, surprisingly, top of your poll for pole is either Verstappen, Leclerc, or Hamilton. I have to group them together. If you're just joining us, I only have 4 options, so I group those together. And you think either Verstappen, Leclerc, or Hamilton is going to be on pole position. You are faithful, to say the least. Kimi Antonelli, 28%, our championship leader. George Russell, 24%. And Norris or Piastri in the McLaren, 13%. Nearly 1,500 votes there. So we will see if that comes to fruition. So Ocon and Bearman have gone back into the pit lane. And they are probably going to come off this medium compound tyre. So maybe the mediums aren't working. They're trying them. Maybe teams were waiting to see if those mediums would work. But the mediums are, I think, probably already coming off these Haas cars. And they'll be on the soft compound tyre. But Alonso and Stroll did a 119.9. Well, Alonso did a 119.2. And Stroll did a 119.9. 7 tenths basically separating the 2 Aston Martin drivers there. As there just was that gap in Monaco as well. Alonso looking to continue the longest streak, I think, in Formula One of out-qualifying a teammate. It's around 40-0 at the moment, I think, or even higher than that over Lance Stroll. Not too good. Sergio Perez is out of the pit lane as well. He has been the better of the 2 Cadillac drivers. Bottas did have a brake pedal issue earlier where his brakes stopped working, and thankfully he had the gravel ahead of him in turn 10, so he was able to stop that car safely, but not good for Cadillac, who on at least one side of both sides of the garage actually have had a whole host of reliability issues in their first season in Formula One. Mercedes onto the track. Yes, we have Mercedes out on track. We have Ferrari out on track as Lewis Hamilton is leaving the pits. Charles Leclerc is out there. We have Verstappen and Hadjar still waiting on the McLarens to leave the pit lane. Or it looks like they are making their way out of their pit boxes now, as we can see from the speedometers, as they'll be making their way down to the pit lane. Arvid Lindblad, keep an eye on his progression here this weekend. He has won the last 2 times he has come to Barcelona. He has won the F3 feature race and the Formula 2 feature race in the last 2 years. So I can't imagine he's going to have much hope of winning in a V-carb this weekend, but he could very well be a contender to finish best of the rest off the back of a great drive in Monaco as well. Good strategy from the V-carb team to leave him out there. 66 laps he did on a set of mediums. The red flag came out and he was able to finish 1 place behind his teammate in 6th, although that has been now changed. He's finished 7th because Gasly's been promoted back up to 3rd. So Liam Lawson demoted to 6th, and Lindblad has been demoted to 7th. Afternoon, Ted. Good to see you. Welcome, everyone. Yes, hope you are well this afternoon. It's a very busy Barcelona circuit for Q1 here. We have times set by only 7 teams, and Ocon and Bearman are out on a brand new set of softs. It's a very, very busy circuit as drivers are starting their flying laps as Verstappen goes purple in the first sector, which doesn't really say much to us until he crosses the start-finish line. because we have very, very slow lap times to start off. The fastest time we have seen this weekend at the moment has been a low 1:15. We do expect pole position to eventually be pushing the 1:13s, definitely the low 14s. And, well, Nico Hülkenberg there does a 1:16.9. So we're still some way off the pace of what we have seen from the drivers this weekend as Verstappen does a 16.3. But the track is getting hotter. It's 51 degrees Celsius out there. And that is super, super hot. And those tyres are not going to like that. And, of course, it's a very busy circuit in relation to traffic out there. We have everyone out on track right now. All 22 cars are out on this Barcelona circuit as Colapinto moves up into P4. Still waiting on every single driver to complete a first run here. So we'll see at the end of this first run who will be in the drop zone. These soft compound tyres will not, I believe, be able to do more than one push lap. That is the nature of this circuit as Hadjar moves up into P3 as Leclerc goes 4 tenths quicker than that of Max Verstappen with a purple last sector. The first driver today in this qualifying session to go sub 1:16 as Antonelli follows him swiftly across the line and goes just behind Leclerc there in P2. Of course, for those drivers, it's just about making it through into Q2 without any eventful nature, and Russell does go top there on 1:15.7. Oscar Piastri starting his flying lap as Hamilton did the fastest first sector, and he's coming across the line now and goes fastest with a 1:15.6 and a purple last sector to boot. As Lando Norris, how is he faring? Arvid Lindblad goes up to 6th, as we said. Keep an eye on Arvid Lindblad this weekend. Could he out-qualify Hadjar, who looks to be struggling in that Red Bull? It does seem to be really struggling with balance, as there's a black and white flag for Lewis Hamilton for driving unnecessarily slowly. So interesting there. Lewis Hamilton noted for driving unnecessarily slowly. Not entirely sure where that occurred and how slow he was driving. I'm sure I'll get a replay of it and let you know how that what that was for. But look at Lando Norris. A lot of traffic ahead of him here as he's on a flying lap. Charles Leclerc and that need to move out of the way. Who is that? Is that Bottas or Perez who is in the way? Sergio Perez in the way. As Lando Norris, yeah, you can see quite a slow middle sector there with the traffic that he's had to navigate past as Norris comes around the last corner. And what does he do? He goes 5th fastest there, caught up in quite a bit of traffic. So that is the nature of this circuit and the difficulties of Q1. Finding a bit of clean air just to get yourself round, as Oscar Piastri does a fastest last sector and slots into P5 half a second off. And Ollie Behrman improves there on his first push lap on a set of soft compound tyres after both Haas's went out there on a set of mediums to start off with, as Esteban Ocon is coming across the line now. And Ocon improves, but does not improve enough to get himself out of the bottom zone. As we have a yellow flag. We have a yellow flag for an Aston Martin of Lance Stroll, I think that is. Did he go very deep there, Lance Stroll? Was he on a push lap? He was indeed. Stroll was on a push lap in that third sector. He'd gone green in the first, green in the second, but did bring out a yellow flag, and in turn has also hurt his teammate Fernando Alonso's time, because when a yellow flag is thrown, regardless of the nature of that yellow flag and whether if it's justified or not, you have to slow down. If you do not slow down, you will receive a penalty. And as such, Fernando Alonso has had to come back into the pit lane. So Lance Stroll there, waiting to see a replay of what occurred. I imagine he probably locked up and went deep into the gravel or some sort. But yes, he did bring out the yellow flag and put hay to his own lap and his teammate's lap, who was close behind him. As I just watched a lockup of Alex Albon down into the first corner. Oh my goodness. Alex Albon really struggling with that Williams, who James Vowles says that Williams is still overweight, needs to go on a diet in the next few weeks to make any improvement. But at the moment we have, after that first run of every driver out there, as watching Lance Stroll, and oh my goodness, what happened to Lance Stroll? Just looked like he carried a bit too much speed into that corner. Did he have a brake issue there? Similar to Valtteri Bottas, to be fair. He just turned into turn 10 and the car wouldn't slow down. So it's either driver error or mechanical issue potentially for Lance Stroll. I know Stroll, we do have our criticisms of Lance Stroll, but that did seem to be like just way too much speed. And I would have thought that he would be able to keep that car close there. Maybe the brake pedal was a similar issue, went long, just like Valtteri Bottas earlier, but went into the gravel, was able to keep it pointed forward, but yes, brought out the yellow flag for his teammate behind. So we currently have in the drop zone Sergio Perez, Esteban Ocon, Valtteri Bottas, Alex Albon, Fernando Alonso, and Lance Stroll in this first attempt in Q1. Sainz is just by a couple of hundredths of a second ahead of Sergio Perez. And then there's some gap to Ollie Behrman in P15. Do the FIA RE check the engines for a duo? They've already done so, and they'll be rechecking them, I think, based upon the data that Red Bull have provided them. Red Bull weren't happy with the findings, and there is a reassessment occurring, apparently, or a reanalysis. I don't think that's a real hot take that Stroll is a below-average driver. I don't think that's a hot take. How many people get dropped in Q1? 6 cars, so from 17th downwards. So we lose 6 in Q1, 6 in Q2, and then it's the top 10 for Q3. Not going to lie, Kimi winning 5 in a row is a bit boring. It needs a switch up. Well, we will see. We will see. Right, so before we get to the race tomorrow, we still have 3 more qualifying sessions. We still have 4 minutes remaining of this Q1 session. And, well, I imagine there will be significant improvement. Track evolution isn't essential here, but it does play a factor, as is kind of the case at most race circuits. But there's as we said, there's quite a large margin between a lot of the drivers here. I'd be surprised if Hamilton goes back out there. Maybe he will. Maybe they'll go back out on the same set of tyres. We'll see. I don't see the likes of Sainz and below making enough of an improvement to put pressure on the top 10, to be real, or even the top 11. Hulkenberg is back out there, though. Sainz definitely needs to go back out there. He'll be on a brand new set of softs. But really, I mean, Alpine definitely need to, I think, pull their finger out somewhat and just make themselves feel a bit more comfortable as they, I mean, it is possible for an improvement from Sainz or Ocon, I think, or maybe Sergio Perez. But yeah, this sort of circuit, you can't really hide on this circuit. It is definitely really performance related in relation to if you're the best performing car. It's kind of normally sets itself out, this track, based upon your performance, where you are in the performance chart up until this point. So normally, yes, it's the fastest car that is fighting it out for pole position and the race wins, and so on as you move further down. It's such a well-balanced circuit, this one, with the long start-finish straight that we have, with the highest mixture of high-speed corners, a mixture of low-speed corners. This is why it's such a great track for pre-season testing. Of course, we don't come here anymore because Bahrain has the rights to pre-season testing, but that's why this circuit was used for many a year for pre-season testing, because it's a great place to find out the performance and balance of your car. So anyway, we have the last run here in Q1. It does seem like, yes, many teams, many drivers not going back out there. They feel the need, though they don't feel the need to go back out there. So we have the top 11 not back out on track, and that is completely understandable. So it's only from P12 downwards that we have drivers out on track with just over 1.5 minutes remaining here. Who is going to improve? Look at those green sectors. Yellow means that they are slower than their previous best. Green means they are improving, but just because they're improving, it doesn't mean it's enough for them to get out of that drop zone. As Alex Albon goes fast in that first sector, a 22.4. Stroll improves in the first sector, but it's a 22.9, so that shows he's already half a second off of Albon's first sector time. A better middle sector from Pierre Gasly, a 30.8 there. Green in the first sector for Nico Hulkenberg as well. So lots of improvements here from every driver out on track other than Gasly's first sector, and he improves and crosses the line and moves up into P10. He is safe, Pierre Gasly, who was awarded that podium after those penalties were rescinded earlier on yesterday, as Colapinto joins his teammate into Q2 as he goes just ahead of his teammate as well. So Alpine safe, as Albon for now is safe. He improves and moves up into P15, Alex Albon, but will it be enough? There's green sectors all over the place right now as Lance Stroll rounds the last corner and only moves ahead of his teammate into 21st. Alonso struggling here as well as he is matching his teammates' time, as we saw Nico Hulkenberg improve significantly there by half a second into P5 from P12, as Esteban Ocon improves and moves up into P16, but only P15, but only briefly as his teammate knocks him down a position, as Behrman improves dramatically into P11. Great lap from Behrman after the struggles that Haas have had recently, so Ocon is at risk here. Who is going to knock Ocon out? Will we see it? Liam Lawson, who didn't go out, is teetering on the edge here as Carlos Sainz survives. Just for now, Bottas survives. How about Sergio Perez? He's green in the first, green in the second, but is it enough to move him out? No, it's only above Sergio Perez. And, well, there we go. Liam Lawson, a bit risky from them potentially with the big improvements that we saw from Alpine, Behrman and Hulkenberg. But in the end, he's safe in P15 as Carlos Sainz was unable to really put pressure on those ahead. But Sainz does get through at his home race into Q2 as we lose Esteban Ocon, Alex Albon in P18, Perez in 19th, out qualifying Valtteri Bottas again by 0.2 of a second. He's in P20. Stroll in 21st, and Fernando Alonso is dead last at potentially his last ever race here, or race weekend at Barcelona. Fernando Alonso, P22, scored a point, a solitary point in Monaco. Well, he's got it all to do tomorrow at potentially his last ever race at Barcelona. We lost Ocon, Albon, Perez, Bottas, Stroll, and Alonso. Deary me. And Stroll has out-qualified Alonso. Oh my God. Stroll has out-qualified Fernando Alonso. I just realised that. The streak has been broken. 40-1 now. It's not 41-0. No, it's 40-1 to Fernando Alonso. He's got off the donut. Stroll's off the donut. The story this weekend is not about Kimi Antonelli winning 6 races in a row, potentially. No, even if he does, it'll be that qualifying record. That qualifying streak has ended. W. Lance Stroll, yeah. Wow. Crazy. It was Stroll's plan all along, you know. He saw Alonso was improving on that lap earlier, and he went, oh, I'm just going to lock up here. Just going to lock up into turn 10 and cause my teammate to slow down. Top 14 drivers within a second of each other. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, Q1 is all about just making it through. Very busy race circuit, of course. 22 cars, 2 extra cars on track right now. And, yeah, it was just about getting a decent enough of a benchmark in. Or a benchmark banker lap in. Sorry, wrong word there. Getting a decent enough banker in so that they didn't have to go out and do an unnecessary second lap, even on the same set of soft compound tyres. So Hulkenberg improves. So yes, it does show that the track did improve there at the end. He made quite a significant improvement. But it also shows that just having some clean air as well, even though these cars are going slow, and if they move out of the way, they're still throwing off quite a significant amount of dirty air, even if they're letting you by and travelling quite slowly. What looks slow to us on TV is still them travelling at 60 miles an hour. And that throws off a lot of dirty air and can unsettle your car as you're hitting into the braking zone and so forth. So, yeah, the cleaner the track, the clearer the run that you have, the more likely you are to maximise your pace. I know, Stroll not in last position. Not just not in last position. He's ahead of Fernando Alonso. The streak has ended. Why are some drivers getting investigated? So that is always an investigation that the stewards have. They have to stop drivers just slowing out the pit lane and going unnecessarily slowly to find a gap in front of themselves so that it's not dangerous. Primarily, this rule was brought in because of the likes of Mexico and that, and because people want to back up the field and find a gap for themselves from the car ahead because of the dirty air reason. They don't want to be too close to a car in front of them. They have a minimum time, basically a minimum delta that they have to follow. But sometimes It's kind of like based on a common sense basis. It's not always that they fall behind that maximum delta time because they're letting cars through, not necessarily because they're building that gap in front. It's very rarely penalised. Q2 starts. I don't know when it starts. It'll be in literally a few moments' time. It won't be long. Won't be long. Stroll not causing a red flag beating Alonso means Hamilton has a chance at pole. No, I don't believe so. So we head into Q2. Well, yes, confirmation there again, but we lost Ocon, Albon, Perez, Bottas, Stroll, and Alonso. And getting into Q3 is going to be an interesting one. Really is going to be an interesting one. Drivers are going to go out there and do 2 push laps this time around. At least like the usual suspects will in relation to getting into Q3. So I'm talking outside of the top 4 teams. So we'll see VCarb, Haas, Alpine, Audi. They'll be looking to get into Q3. Can Hulkenberg get his first Q3 of the season? They really did throw away a decent scoring opportunity when it came to Monaco. They looked very good all weekend. And then when it came to qualifying, of course, Bortoleto crashed and broke his suspension into the Nivelle chicane in Q1. And then Hulkenberg didn't even make it into Q3 when they should have done, really. And then, of course, Hulkenberg collided with Sainz and picked himself a penalty at the end of the race. So Audi look good here again. Well, they look fairly solid, I would say. They look fairly solid. And they look like they're in competition to score points and get into Q3. And can Hulkenberg finally do it? Or will he qualify 11th again? All right, moments away from Q2, getting underway here. A very hot Barcelona circuit, 50.7 degrees. It is not letting up at all. Keep an eye on that wind as well. It does get a bit breezy around here at Barcelona, and that can play a factor in how these corners handle. Of course, if you have a tailwind into a corner, it makes it more difficult to brake. Because the wind is pushing you along. It can cause rear instability on the car. That's when we see lockups and so forth. And also, if it's a crosswind as well, that also upsets the balance, especially with some high-loaded corners that we have here at Barcelona, because lots of turn 3 is very a high-speed corner, so the car's loaded on the left-hand side. Same as turn 9 as well, and turn 12 in the last couple of corners. But here we go. Green light. Pit exit is open. Q2 is underway. T-minus 15 minutes here. Who is going to make it into Q3 at Barcelona? We are only moments away from finding out. Do I believe Alonso being out-qualified by Stroll indicates the oncoming apocalypse? It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Unless you're an Alonso fan. But yeah, it's not that bad. Do I think Hulkenberg will have the same performance as he did last Barcelona? Well, what that will do, I don't think he will, but what that will do is that his recent memory of this place will be very positive. And that's only going to have a positive impact to how he approaches this weekend. If your last memory of coming to a certain track, it's like any sport. If your most recent memory is a negative memory, in golf, playing on a certain opponent, a track or whatever a sport it may be, some people use that and they fuel it, obviously, to improve themselves. But mostly, it's not going to have a particularly positive impact on you. Whereas if your most recent memory of that place, of that opponent or whatever is positive, then you're gonna go into that with your chest, with your standing up a bit straighter, your chest pumped out a little bit more, with a lot more confidence. And I think Hulkenberg's weekend has definitely panned out very well thus far. And he will, I think he's got a good chance of getting into Q3 and continuing a great run of form. Because he has been performing well, Hulkenberg. He's just been very unfortunate not to score any points yet. Like, his championship scoring standings don't really show how well he's performed this year. Of course, plagued with reliability issues, Audi as well. And he should have more points on the board. Do I think Georgie will win? He's got a very, very big opportunity to score points. He needs to score points, doesn't he? He hasn't scored any in 2 races. I think he's got a great opportunity of sticking it on pole here, yeah. I still think when push comes to shove, it's a shootout between Russell and Antonelli. The Mercedes do look a cut above the rest here this weekend. Right, so it seems like drivers are being very coy about when they want to get out on track. The later you go out, the more likely you are to get the benefit of the better track state. So the track will get quicker. But also, they only have an opportunity of really like 2 push laps here. The soft compound tyres are not lasting multiple push laps like we have seen at other circuits. This track is very hard on the tyres, high abrasiveness, high track temperatures isn't helping either, of course, with the thermal degradation. So the teams are waiting for this timer to run down to a certain degree so that they're not going out too early and that they're getting the benefit of the track. And also, they want to run into traffic as well. That's also another thing that they don't want to do. They want to position, track position's also key. So, Gasly and Colapinto are the first drivers out. Hulkenberg behind them. Then Carlos Sainz. Verstappen's following swiftly with Lindblad and Liam Lawson. Looks like Russell and Antonelli, I think, are leaving the pit lane. No, they're not. So we still have more than half the field here. Not even leaving the pit lane yet. So they're waiting patiently. Hadjar leaves the pit lane now. It looks like Charles Leclerc is leaving. Yeah, Charles Leclerc has left the pit lane. There we go. We've got a bit more movement now from the rest of the field. Antonelli, George Russell, Bortoletto. So yes, we are starting to get the rest of the field leave the pit lane here, as Gasly will be the first driver to start a lap as he's just made his way into the last sector. I think we will see a 2-stop tomorrow. Yes, guys. For strategy tomorrow, I think 2-stop minimum tomorrow with potentially a 3-stop. Will someone try the 1-stop? I don't think the tyres are lasting long enough here for that to be a viable strategy. So I may try it, but you'll just lose too much time around this circuit. That's just the nature of it. But I am very, very thankful for that because we haven't seen a 2-stop race all season yet, and we're in the 7th round now. Right, Pierre Gasly has started his lap, so we'll keep an eye on him when he comes across the line, and we'll see what benchmark time he sets. Of course, the fastest lap that we've seen thus far this week has been a 1:15.2 in practice. Qualifying earlier was the mid-15s. Of course, it's very hot out there. Well, the track temperature has fallen just a touch below 50 degrees now, but still very hot. And those soft tyres are going to be screaming at the drivers as they make their way round, and who will be able to get the best performance out of them, we will see. Max Verstappen makes his way down into the braking zone of Turn 1. Let's see how he fares in that Red Bull. That Red Bull powertrain has just been announced as the fastest or the most powerful powertrain, but Red Bull have refuted that and provided the FIA with new information and data to suggest otherwise, as Max Verstappen does set the fastest first sector we've seen in qualifying today, a 21.851. Arvid Lindblad does the second fastest with a 22.0, as Lawson moves up into P6 in that first sector. Pierre Gasly crosses the line with a 1:17.6 on a set of used compound tyres. Hulkenberg is also on a set of used compound tyres. So we have a few drivers out there on used tyres. They won't be able to go as quick as they possibly can, of course, on those used compared to the brand new. Colapinto goes 2.5 tenths quicker than his teammate on a set of used tyres as well, as Hulkenberg also does, he does a sub 1:17, so a good lap time from the Audi there on a set of used, 4.5 tenths quicker than Colapinto on the same age of tyre. Carlos Sainz, 1.4 seconds behind them as well. 2.9 seconds behind Verstappen now, who did the fast. It does a 15.484 on a brand new set of softs. Who is going to be next across the line? We have Ollie Behrman starting a lap. He's on a U set of softs. Charles Leclerc goes purple in the middle sector. Also does Hulkenberg has a lap time deleted at turn 9. So turn 9 is a corner you have to be careful of. The car is being pushed over to the left hand side as you are coming off of that corner there. Very fast and high loaded corner. And well, if you don't keep it with the track limits as Hulkenberg did, very easy to do so, you will have your lap time deleted. So the Audi driver now has a lot of pressure on him when it comes to his next attempt. Antonelli goes fastest in the middle sector and moves up into P2 just behind Charles Leclerc. Once again, all about just getting through into Q3 for these drivers. Then there'll be full push come Q3. Bortoletto moves up to P7. That was on a brand new set of tyres, so 1:16.6 for him. Not particularly quick from Gabriel Bortoletto. A really slow middle sector from the Audi driver as George Russell goes fastest with a 15.228 there. And without any purple sectors, he goes fastest. Hamilton goes full fastest, just under 2 tenths behind Russell, as the front three of Russell, Leclerc and Antonelli is separated by less than a tenth of a second. Piastri moves up into P9. Ooh, what happened to Piastri there? Oh, on a used set of tyres. So Piastri on a used set of tyres. He's the fastest driver on a used set of tyres in P9. Norris on a used set as well, as he's coming around the last corner. Looks like he's going to go quicker than his teammate. He does indeed, as he splits the two RBs and all V-carbs, whatever you want to call them, into P8 there. Just under 8 tenths behind George Russell. That is it for all drivers on their first attempt here. And we had Nico Hülkenberg, who should be around where his teammate is in P11, P10, and he is currently in P16 without setting a lap because his lap time got deleted. Carlos Sainz on a used set. He ended up, he's 3.1 seconds behind. Gasly, 14th. Behrman, 13th. Colapinto, 12th. Bortoletto, 11th. And, well, other than Bortoletto, in that bottom 6, they all set times on used softs, so they will be able to go quicker. Everyone above them, Norris is the fastest driver on a set of used softs in P8. Piastri definitely needs to go out again because he's only 3 tenths quicker than Bortoletto, who will improve. Alpines will improve. There's definitely improvements out there for those who are in the drop zone at the moment, who, as they haven't set any lap times on brand new tyres. Leclerc needs to show some of that one lap pace. Yeah, I still think. Look, we're probably not going to see low 14s. That's just not the nature of the track right now. 50 degrees Celsius is just not possible. But I think we're going to see the 114 barrier made because, of course, when it comes to push laps in Q1 and Q2, you just want to get that banker in. Surprised McLaren will go for used. They might be wanting to save a set of softs for the race tomorrow. They might be wanting to hold back a brand new set of softs. As Norris is reporting, he has so much rear lock-in. Everywhere is dreadful. Oh dear, Lando. Or they might have used an extra set of softs yesterday. I don't know. They might not have enough come qualifying. But if they're maybe planning for a free stop tomorrow, having a brand new set of softs with probably the highly likeliness of a safety car, a late safety car potentially, having a brand new set of softs might not be bad for them, but I don't know. What do I think about Lando's speed? Is Spain a comeback? I don't know. I mean, I expect him to be higher. I do expect, push comes to shove in Q3, I do think McLaren will pull out some decent laps. And my predictions were front row is going to be Mercedes, all McLaren second row. That was my predictions. Of course, can always be wrong. But when these guys are on the limit in Q3, I think we will see some improvements. I think we'll see those lap times get sub 115. Do I have good hopes for Max? Not really, no. I haven't seen anything from that Red Bull this weekend that suggests it's on the pace of the Mercedes or really pushing the pace of the McLarens. Of course, don't rule out Max, and that Red Bull powertrain is decent. But yeah, it just seems to be that it's lacking somewhat this weekend. I think the cars are more dominant in recent times. Was that always the case, or did the drivers were more dominant back in the day? I mean, F1's always been impacted by the car. You're limited to the machinery underneath you. But the best drivers end up in the best cars. That's how Formula 1 has always been. And the drivers do end up making the difference, especially when car performance is quite similar. I mean, just go back to 2021. You look at the whole duration of that season. Max and Lewis were a cut above the rest. They were miles better than their teammates. And of course, yes, you can say they didn't maybe have the same car or whatever, but even so, like, they were just so much better than their teammates and anyone else over in the field. And that's the level of driver that they are. And the best drivers will, when they're given the machinery underneath them, will maximise that. These cars at the moment, as they've complained about the drivers. There's less of them making an impact than like being limited by the machinery. But that's where we are at the moment. So we'll see. We'll see. Right. Here we go. A run in Q2. Let's keep it on board with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri on a brand new set of softs. I do expect them to comfortably improve here and push their way up to the top of the standings, as we do not have Russell, Leclerc, Antonelli, Hamilton, Verstappen, or Hadjar, the top 6, back out there, because they are comfortably safe. Only half a second separating the top 6, and the top 5 are separated by just 2.5 tenths. So they are comfortable. It is about the rest of the field here. Norris and Piastri at risk, especially Piastri, who is in P10. We have an improvement from Sainz in P15, but he has no brand new sets of softs available. So Carlos Sainz there is only able to use, in his second run of Q2, a used set of softs. So it's not a good weekend for Williams. And Sainz is probably going to be finishing at the bottom of the pack here in Q2, as he is currently in P15. We have improvements, though, from Norris in the first sector and the second, as is Oscar Piastri in the first and second. They're pretty much equal on lap time here, only a few hundredths of a second separating the two McLaren drivers. And Oscar's going to cross the line first, and he goes up into P6 to nearly just under 3 tenths separating himself and George Russell. Lando Norris crosses the line and goes into P4 with the fastest last sector, and he is just over a tenth back from George Russell, as Hulkenberg's been given a black and white flag for driving unnecessarily slowly. Hulkenberg, who's currently in 16th, had his lap time deleted first time around. He goes to 22.191 in the first sector, a good first sector for Nico Hulkenberg. Green sector for Liam Lawson. He's at risk in P10. He's half a second ahead of Bortoletto, though, so there is a bit of a gap to the V-Carbs and the bottom 6 as it stands. As we have Gasly, he's starting his lap. Colapinto starting his lap as well. We're all eyes on Liam Lawson, because he'll be the first driver to cross the line out of this chasing pack to ensure they get into Q3. Liam Lawson, who had a great Monaco weekend, who's had a good start to his first full-time season. Sorry, his second full-time season in Formula 1. Apologies, because he's last. He started in Red Bull last year, didn't he? After being removed after 2 races. But he's definitely a man in form. And, well, what a lap that is. 3.5 tenths separating Liam Lawson in P8 to P1. Not a large field spread. But what can Hulkenberg do? Hulkenberg comes across the line and he moves P10 and pushes Lindblad down. Is that enough? Because Lindblad has bowed out of his lap, and Lindblad, who has good form here, is out of Q2. He's the first one out. Well, actually, Carlos Sainz is, as Behrman moves up only into P12. So we've lost Lindblad, we've lost Behrman, and we've lost Sainz. But there's green sectors on the board for Bortoletto, as Bortoletto only moves into P12. All eyes on Gasly and Colapinto. Is it the nearly man again for Nico Hulkenberg, as Pierre Gasly only goes 13th? There's one more driver who can thwart Nico Hulkenberg's first Q3 performance, or will it be a P11 again for Hulkenberg? No, it will not, as Colapinto goes only 13th, and finally, Nico Hulkenberg is into Q3 and sees the back and overcomes the curse of P11 as he makes it through into P10 and is into Q3. Arvid Lindblad, a mistake from Arvid Lindblad in that lap, and he was unable to improve and had to bow out of it. He is in P11, Bortoletto P12, Colapinto 13th, Gasly 14th. No heroics from the Alpines this time around. Behrman 15th, and Carlos Sainz. I don't know what's up with Williams this weekend. Definitely all at sea in 16th for Carlos Sainz in his home race. And, well, we saw Hulkenberg and Liam Lawson get through into Q3. Liam Lawson, another Q3 performance from him. Really, really well for Lawson. Hadjar got through, but the top 10 separated by half a second. Liam Lawson, 3.5 tenths separating him to first place. Of course, do expect improvements come Q3, and that gap to widen from the top teams, as they've just wanted bankers to get through. But there we go. We lost Lindblad, Bortoletto, Colapinto, Gasly, Behrman, and Sainz in Q2. On to Q3 now. I ain't Murray Walker. Behave myself. I don't pretend to be. I am me. Do I think the new Ferrari upgrades will make a huge difference? I mean, I don't know. Just because you bring an update doesn't mean it's going to have the desired effect. Ask Harstat, because they've had a negative effect on them. But I'm sure they will have I mean, I haven't heard any news. I'm sure they're having a positive effect. But the biggest positive effect that Ferrari can have is bringing a new power unit. Because that's where their issue is they're down on pace. I'd be very, very surprised if that gap is as close as it is. Come Q3, maybe the track temps, if the gap is that close, I mean, maybe there is an opportunity for the other teams here. Maybe these higher track temperatures, something I haven't taken into consideration till just this very moment, maybe these high track temperatures is something that is thwarting the performance advantage of Russell and Antonelli in the Mercedes. We've seen that Mercedes be very susceptible to hot conditions over the years. Of course, we're in a different reg set now, but remember the ground effect era, their cars would dominate in cold conditions. The hotter it was, the worse performing they were. Maybe that's a carryover to these cars right now. We will see. Maybe this is the genuine performance gap right now. And maybe there is an opportunity to get in front of Mercedes. We have not long to find out. Track temperature is 48 degrees, so it is hot. It's on the hotter end of the scale. But yeah, time will tell. Right, here are the fastest sector times you can see, and pretty close across the board. Not a lot separating them all, is there? Really? Not a lot separating them all. Audi becoming better and better this season so far. Yeah, they are improving for sure. They're just really poor in reliability, aren't they? Really poor. If George isn't on pole, something lashes out. Can George snatch his 10th career pole? We will see. Not long to find out, guys. Not long to find out. If Hulk finishes in points at GP, he'll probably get a 10 out of 10. I mean, he's done here already what he didn't do at Monaco, which is utilise the performance that Audi have. At Monaco, Bortoletto and Hülkenberg threw away a result, basically. They did. They should have comfortably been in Q3. They were in the top 10 throughout practice all weekend, and then when it came to qualifying, they bottled it, really. They bottled it. And Hülkenberg here has converted that into the top 10 right now. Into the top 10. So he's starting in the points tomorrow at least. Will Lawson be promoted any time in the future? I don't think in the near future. I think what they will probably do with Lawson is I think Lawson will at minimum stay in the V carb for the start of next season. I think if there is a promotion opportunity for Lawson, it would happen in the mid part of the season of next year. Let's say after. I mean, would there be a potential of him getting into the top team again? Maybe if Verstappen leaves. But I think let's say Verstappen stays, unless Hadjar doesn't perform well and Lawson continues to perform well. But the only way Lawson moves back up again is if he maybe gets promoted mid-season. But Lawson might raise some interest from other teams. We'll see. But I do think because of the circumstance of his first time in Red Bull and it being so unique and so short, I think unlike a driver who's been at the team for 6 months or a year and then has been demoted, I think there's an opportunity for him to be re-promoted back to the team. That's my thoughts on it, just because of if he'd been there maybe for like 10 races or something, half a season, and then was demoted, I'd say there's no way back in for him into the top team, regardless of how well he performs. But I think there is an opportunity for him to go back if he continues to perform, because he was only there for 2 races, and also you've got to remember this is a new look Red Bull as well now, new leadership. The people, the decision makers who had a difference of approach are not there anymore. Right, green light, pit exit open, Q3 underway. We are just under 13 minutes away from finding out who is going to be on pole position for the Barcelona Grand Prix. Let me know in the chat, who do you think is going to be on pole position? Antonelli, George Russell, Leclerc, Norris, Hamilton, Verstappen, Piastri. Let me know. Sorry, Hadjar. Just don't think he's got the pace to get there. Into Q, get that on pole position. But there's a potential here, I think. There's a potential, I think, of the Mercedes has the temperature here, has the track temperature thwarted their performance advantage over the rest of the field? Or have they just been comfortable and just trying to get through to Q1, get out Q1, get out Q2 without any incident, and Q3 is when they turn it on? We are about to find out. No drivers yet to lead the pit lane. They are going to wait. We are going to see 2 push laps undoubtedly from 2 brand new sets of soft compound tyres. But other than maybe Lawson and Hulkenberg, everyone will have to their use in this Q3 session. Leclerc is going to have an incident. George Russell on pole. Antonelli, Leclerc, Russell. I vote Ferrari, but we already know Kimi is a pole sitter. Verstappen, Lewis, or Oscar. It's a lot more variety than I thought it was going to be. You want pepper? There you go. What? Make tacos with pepper. Sorry, little one. Putting Peppa Pig on for little one. She's not a fan of Formula 1 just yet, guys. Right, yes, hit that like and subscribe button, guys. Here we are into Q3. Max Verstappen leads the way with Oscar Piastri in P2. I say in P2, sorry. In position 2 out on track, that is. So we have Verstappen lead the way. Piastri second out there behind Verstappen. Then Norris, Lawson, Leclerc, Hadjar, Hamilton. You know Antonelli's going to go out very last again. I wonder if George Russell will be waiting for Antonelli to go out before him, because recently Antonelli has been the driver who's been going out very last in these runs in Q3. And, well, it seems like this time around George Russell will be getting the opportunity to go last, because Antonelli has been going last in the track state. You technically have, even though it's risky, of course, because it could be yellow flags, red flags, etc., for thwart your performance or your push lap, you do get the better track state, and it can make all the difference. The fine margins, of course, in Formula 1 matter so much. So Lawson and Hulkenberg, as we said, only have, I think, probably 1 brand new set of tyres available to them, if any. So they are out on used tyres, and then we have everyone else on brand new softs. So let's stay on board with Max Verstappen, shall we? Makes his way down into turn 1. The fastest lap we've seen thus far is a 15.2. Are we going to see a driver get sub 1:15? If we do, that's a very, very good lap time with the track temperature hovering around 50 degrees Celsius as Verstappen makes his way through the first sector. And it's a 21.921 for Max Verstappen. Sub 22 is a good lap time. Not the fastest we've seen from him, a 21.851, but very good. As Piastri goes a couple of hundredths quicker than Verstappen in that first sector, a 21.9 flat as Verstappen makes his way down the hill into turn 7. Needs to be careful here. A very fiddly section of the circuit as Norris also matches Piastri and Verstappen with a 21.9. Hardly anything to separate those 3 drivers, the first 3 drivers out on circuit. Lawson a good half a second behind as he's on used soft compound tyres. Verstappen does a 30.5 in that middle sector. A couple of attempts behind what is possible with Antonelli and Russell doing 30.3s. Piastri matches Verstappen. Hardly anything separating Verstappen and Piastri at the moment as Norris does go a couple of attempts quicker as Leclerc is off at turn 4. On the exit of turn 4, Leclerc has brought out the yellow flag. That has faulted his teammates' lap time, Hadjar's lap time. Norris and Piastri will be able to continue as Verstappen does a 15.3, as Piastri does a 15.1, and Norris, who is on a flyer, does the purple middle sector, has his lap thwarted here as he was coming across the finish line, as the medical car has been deployed, and I'm still yet to see where Charles Leclerc is. Is he in the barrier? I presume he is, with that medical car and this red flag, using different brake pads here this weekend after dragging the usual supplier through the mud post-Monaco. And, well, is this a cause for his mistake here? I'm about to see as the yellow flag on my TV coverage has been thrown. Charles Leclerc off track. Only Verstappen and Oscar have been able to set a lap time here before the red flag was thrown. And Charles Leclerc, I'm still waiting to see a replay. They are not showing his car on track. Is it a big hit? And he is into the barrier, front end off. Charles is safe. He is out of the car, safe and sound, but the car has no front end. He has gone off, and well, that is why we have a red flag here. And Charles Leclerc's run in this 2026 season has gone from bad to worst, and he will be starting 10th place at best tomorrow here at the Barcelona Grand Prix. My. Someone said earlier, who is it who said earlier, Charles is going to bring out a yellow? Charles is going to crash? Well, you were bang on the money. Bang on the money. Charles Leclerc, let's have a look at the replay then. So he's approaching turn 4. And I said earlier on, it's a tricky corner. And, oh, wow. Wow. So the car starts to slide mid-corner, which is the nature of that corner. And as he's trying to get back on throttle, it seems, the car, he can't save it. Was he applying throttle there? I'm trying to see it. Yeah, he gets the... So he first initially corrects the slide, gets on throttle. As soon as he touches the throttle, the rear goes, no, don't like that. And it snaps on him and he goes round. Driver error. Driver error from Charles Leclerc. And there we go. A red flag. If you're just joining us, Charles Leclerc out of qualifying by crashing into the barrier. And well, Lando Norris was on course for provisional pole. He was 2 tenths up on Piastri and Verstappen on that lap. He was approaching the last corner. He was in between turn 13 and 14 when the red flag was thrown. And now he doesn't have... he's used that brand new set and will have to go again. Real unfortunate for Lando Norris. Could it benefit Oscar Piastri, who's 1.5 tenths up on Verstappen? And, well, Hamilton was also on a push lap. He did the fastest first sector. Antonelli was making his way round to start his lap, as was George Russell as well. So they've been able to save those tyres somewhat. But with 8.5 minutes remaining, who is going to be on pole position here? We will see. We will see. So, damn. Who wins this car crash? Stroll or Leclerc? So, yeah, not great for Charles Leclerc. Not great for Charles again. And he saved it. He did save it. But the problem is that he got down on throttle a bit too early. He was a bit too aggressive on it. And the car was still not settled as he got back on throttle. And it just went round on him. Just after he signed the contract extension as well. So it definitely wasn't the brakes. Definitely wasn't the brakes. But there we go. There we go. Hit that like and subscribe button, guys, if you haven't already. They're still looking to clear that Ferrari. Car doesn't look saved. No, not really. Not been saved that much, no. Charles Leclerc. If you've just joined us, Charles Leclerc has crashed out of Q3. Going... Hang on. It doesn't really matter, does it, Ted Kravitz? He's saying Hamilton is looking good, but Charles has been the fastest Ferrari this weekend. Yeah, but he's in the wall. What does it matter if you're the fastest driver if you can't keep it on track? And I'm sorry, I think some hard discussions need to be had about Charles Leclerc. He's a quick driver, but man, I'm sorry. If he was in a championship battle, I would not put money on him because I would not trust that man to keep it on track. I'm sorry. He crashes so much. So much. Have you ever seen a driver have you ever seen a driver who's considered that fast to crash as much? Don't get me wrong, I don't like the way Max does like his wheel-to-wheel battles, but he doesn't crash on his own a lot, does he? Same as Hamilton. Like, I would even say Norris hasn't crashed as much. And think how much criticism Lando gets and the stick he gets. Do we have to remind you of Crash Verstappen? The difference between Max, though, is because he crashed because of him being aggressive with his wheel-to-wheel nature. He doesn't crash by just, like, making driver errors. You know? Leclerc makes a lot of driver mistakes. And that's in qualifying. That's just in practice. That's in qualifying. That's in every form of session. And, I mean, if you had... See, this is what... I think if there was a championship battle between Leclerc and Hamilton, I think just for the sake of consistency, I would say Lewis Hamilton would come out on top. Because I think Charles would have a couple of important crashes per year, per season. And that would be a whole host of points that I think if he was in a championship battle with Max or Lewis, they would come out on top of, because they'd maximise those points. And Charles having that issue. He's just trying to get what he can out of the car because he's always been behind in the Ferrari most of the time when Hamilton stops at a limit. Yeah, but then you also need to know where your limit is. I don't think that's a valid excuse trying to get the most out of the car, because like you can't be crashing as often as this. And maybe that's why only Ferrari re-signed him. Maybe that's why Mercedes don't want him, McLaren don't want him, Red Bull don't want him. Ferrari keep him because he's been with them for so long, and they're like, well, it's not worth the risk taking. Charles not a good, consistent driver, then do worse in later races. That's why he's not good enough driver for the championship. I'm just saying. I don't know. I think... Look, it's gone on for too long now. It's gone on for too long where I feel... We know like he drives over the limit or whatever, but then he does it too often. Aston Martin. So he was talking to Aston Martin. That's been confirmed by various sources. I think even Sky confirmed that as well. It's quite well known. He was talking to Aston Martin. Look, they do always say you'd rather a fast driver than a slow driver. You'd rather try and clean up a fast driver than try and make a clean driver faster. That's what they always say. However, Charles is not in his third year of Formula One. He has been at Ferrari nearly 10 years. Well, 10 years? Formula One, 10 years. When did he start Formula One? Did he join 2017? When did Charles start Formula One? 2019 and Ferrari 2017. Okay, so he's approaching 10 years in Formula One, right? And approaching 10 years in Ferrari. And he's nearly a decade in the sport, and he's still crashing as often as he does. I mean, you need to learn at some point. You need to learn. Aaron, you give him a championship car and he would do a Piastri from last year. Simple facts are he is too erratic. Yeah, I mean, look, some seasons have been consistent. Some of them have been consistent. But I think, has he crashed every single season? I think he's crashed every single season. But, right, we do have a time of resumption for this Q3 session after Charles Leclerc's crash, which was into turn 4. So Charles Leclerc is out of qualifying, brought the red flag out, and it's about to resume in just under 2 minutes' time. So time to go for a quick toilet break, beverage break, whatever it may be. Top up whatever you've got, because we have 8.5 minutes remaining of Q3. Did he Bennett in 2024? I think he did. At least in practice at one point. He might not have been qualified. I can't remember. 2024, you asked me to go back quite a while. But I feel like he has crashed a car at some point throughout the weekend every single year. Whereas some drivers don't do that and they're still quick. And some people can say, oh, it's about finding the limit or whatever. But then if you crash in practice, that can have a negative impact on not just obviously your psyche, your mental state over the course of the weekend, but also just because you crash in practice doesn't mean that you don't not carry damage over throughout the course of the weekend. If you crack a chassis, if you do damage, some of it is irreparable throughout the course of the weekend. Like, can't be fixed for qualifying, can't be fixed. Like, if you have a crash on Friday, there is damage that you pick up there that can be carried out throughout the weekend. And into other races as well. And that's because of then your subsequent lack of performance beyond that crash can be caused by your crash, you know, a week before, 2 weeks before or whatever. But yeah, it's just... There we go. There we go. Right. Here we go. Green lights, pit exit open. We are go again in Q3. If you are just joining us, welcome, welcome. Where have you been? Where have you been? We have Piastri on provisional pole from Max Verstappen by a 1/10.5. But the session was red flagged due to a crash by Charles Leclerc into turn 4. A driver error from Charles Leclerc. The car twitched on him on the entry to mid-corner. He saved it. Got back on throttle too early, too much, and the car went round on him and said, no, I don't like that, and he crashed. So Charles Leclerc is out of Q3. He will be starting eventually P10 tomorrow once these drivers have done a lap. Lando Norris, a real victim of that red flag there because he was approaching the last corner. He was 2 tenths up on his teammate, and he had the red flag thrown, which meant that he had to bow out of his lap on a brand new set of softs. So a real shame for Lando Norris. Could be on provisional pole right now, but alas, he has a time that has not been set. So Antonelli wasting no time. He is out there, as is Lewis Hamilton, who was also purple in the first sector when that red flag was thrown. So he was a good 10th up on those out on track in the first sector. But they're going to have to go again, so let's see how they fare. Lewis Hamilton is on that same set of tyres as well, and they'll have undoubtedly a brand new set in this last run. So, Antonelli, let's keep an eye on him, our championship leader. He's going for 6 race wins in a row. Currently 66 points ahead of second place. Lewis Hamilton, 68 points ahead of his teammate George Russell, who's in third. And, well, he needs a sub 22 seconds in the first sector for it to be any good, and it's a 22.0, so he's a bit down on pace in that first sector. George Russell, we'll keep an eye on him as well, as Isaac Hadjar makes his way through the first sector and does a 22.1, but he's on a used set of tyres. He was also out there on a push lap when that red flag was thrown. Lewis Hamilton making his way down into the first corner as well. He went purple in that first sector. Will he be able to do the same? Kimi Antonelli making his way through the middle. A 33.3 is his fastest middle sector time previously. Is it going to be purple? It's pretty good. It's the second fastest second sector we have seen today from anyone in qualifying. As Kimi Antonelli is a 30.388. Second, as Lando Norris was the fastest in Q in this session. As Antonelli makes his way around the last couple of corners, it's looking good for Antonelli. It's all about this last corner. Can he do it? Can he get on pole? No! He's 2.5 tenths behind, but he is on a used set of tyres there, so Antonelli will have to go again. Isaac Hadjar making his way around the last corner. Can he get ahead of his teammate? No, he cannot. He is in P4, but George Russell is going very nicely here, almost pretty much on brand new tyres, as he hadn't even started his push lap when it came to that red flag. Is he going to get on pole position? It's needed from George Russell, and it is for now a 15.1. Lewis Hamilton is yellow in the first sector, a 30.5 in the middle, not particularly great from him, also on a set of used tyres. Well, Lewis only goes 6th fastest there, and it shows that these tyres, you need brand new boots to be able to maximise the performance of your car. As with Lewis Hamilton on used tyres there went P6, Hadjar P5, and Antonelli went P4 and lost a whole heap of time. So it's currently George Russell fastest by only 0.03 of a second from Oscar Piastri. Max Verstappen nearly 2 tenths behind with Antonelli in P4 starting on the second row. Remember, starting on the second row isn't the end of the world because it's a very long run down into turn 1, one of the longest on the calendar. And there is an opportunity of sweeping round into turn 1. Russell has been noted for driving unnecessarily slowly, but we have seen a few black and white flags in qualifying today and it not be penalised. So George Russell will probably... that black and white flag, of course, is also just a warning as well. It's not a penalty, but the drivers will have to go again. They do have enough time, 4 minutes remaining, and they will put on a fresh set of boots, and it will be a final lap shootout here for Q3. They're leaving lots of margin. Lewis and George, big time to find. Yeah, there's a lot of margin to find. I guess the problem is the track is going to get quicker, isn't it, technically speaking? So they didn't want to put on the last set of brand new softs they have. Oh, sorry, margin, sorry. You're talking about them just being out on track right now. Well, I think they want to be the last driver out there. 3.5 minutes, surely some drivers... They've got plenty of time, to be fair. They've all got plenty of time to get out there. I guess you don't really have to worry so much about your tyre warm-up because the track is so hot and the nature of the circuit anyway. You can lean on them a little bit more through the corners. Like, it's not difficult to warm these tyres up, you know? So Antonelli is going to be the first driver out there. So this is different. This is a different approach from Kimi Antonelli than what we've seen thus far this season. Normally, he and George Russell as well, normally the Mercedes duo are towards the back of the field when it comes to qualifying, but they are wasting no time. They want to get out there and get this lap in. And, well, as you've touched upon in the chat, maybe they are leaving it a little bit too late here, but undoubtedly they are going to all comfortably get round. I do think so, but Antonelli wants to make sure he has got as much clean air as he possibly can, and George Russell as well, who is following his teammate Lando Norris, the biggest victim of that first run in Q3 because of that red flag from Charles Leclerc. He was 2 temps up and potentially going to go into provisional pole from his teammates, and well, alas, he has no time set, but he's on a brand new set of tyres here, as is Oscar Piastri. Everyone's on a brand new set now. I'm do presume that Charles Leclerc is out of Q3. Lewis Hamilton also has a brand new set. Yes, he does. So they have 2 minutes to make their way round to the start-finish line. That's plenty of time for these drivers. With it being only a 15-minute lap, they have plenty of time to trundle their way round to the start-finish line. But thank you everyone for tuning in. We have, as Antonelli approaches the last corner here, one more run in Q3. Who is going to start on pole position tomorrow? George Russell is on provisional pole by 0.03 of a second from Oscar Piastri. Antonelli is in fourth, our championship leader. He makes his way down into turn 1. Hit the like and subscribe button. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, for the race, looking at the all-important strategy because it is going to play a central role tomorrow here at a very hot Barcelona, as it's probably going to be a 2 or 3 stop. But back to the on-track action as Antonelli makes his way out of turn 3 and across the first sector line, and it's a 21.879. It's a good first sector from Kimi Antonelli in sector 1. Not purple, but it's good. As George Russell swiftly following him. What first sector can he set? It's purple by 0.02 of a second quicker, 0.03 of a second quicker than his teammate in the first sector, and he's improving on his already provisional pole lap time of 1:15.1. Plenty of time for Lewis Hamilton to start his lap here as Antonelli makes his way down the middle straight, crossing the second sector line, and it's a purple middle sector for Kimi Antonelli. The first 30.2 we have seen today from anyone in qualifying. Mega middle sector from Kimi Antonelli as he makes his way round turn 12, as George goes even quicker, a tenth quicker in the second sector of 30.1. He's on course for a sub 1:15 as Antonelli rounds the last corner and comes across the line and takes pole position, but for how long? Because his teammate is rounding the last corner. It's a 1:14.998 to beat as Verstappen goes purple in sector 1 as Russell takes pole position back from his teammate by 0.3 of a second, a whopping 0.3. Lando across the line, he goes third, nearly 0.003 of a second behind Kimi Antonelli. As Hulkenberg, what can he do? Can he get ahead of his teammate? Ahead of Liam Lawson. He pushes Charles Leclerc down, who is unable to set a lap here. Lewis Hamilton does a 21.8 in the first sector. It's very neck and neck as Max Verstappen is on course here as well for pole position, as Piastri can only finished fourth. But Max Verstappen, all eyes on Max as he comes across the line and he goes fourth. Oh, it's a terrible last sector for Max, but Lewis Hamilton is moving at some rate of knots in the middle sector as Hadjar moves up into fifth, and Lewis Hamilton, could he take an unlikely pole? Foot across the line, Lewis Hamilton second by 600ths of a second to George Russell. So close to an unbelievable pole position there from Lewis Hamilton. But George Russell, when it was needed, is on pole position starting tomorrow. 32 out of the last 35 race winners here have started on the front row. And well, that bodes very well for George Russell and Lewis Hamilton, who are chasing Kimi Antonelli in this Drivers' Championship. He will start P3 tomorrow. Norris will start P4. So close for Verstappen as well. I just don't know what happened in that last sector for the Dutchman, because he was flying, as was Lewis Hamilton. The finest margins there for Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. Maybe that track temperature did play a factor and did nullify some performance advantage for the Mercedes duo. We'll see if they are going to be dominant tomorrow when it comes to the race duration. But our top 10 there is George Russell on pole position. Lewis Hamilton P2 by 600ths of a second. Such a small margin. I did not expect Lewis Hamilton to be on the front row. Kimi Antonelli P3. Not quite on the pace of his teammate this weekend. Maybe missing out on that first practice session due to the rookie test has affected him getting up to speed this weekend. He starts P3. Lando Norris is P4. Remember, P3 starts directly behind P1. So he'll start directly behind his teammate. Lando Norris P4, nearly getting P3 from Kimi Antonelli. 3 thousandths of a second separating Norris and Antonelli from P3 and P4. Verstappen, only 200ths of a second behind Lando Norris there. A real slow last sector for Verstappen. 23 seconds it was in the last sector. So he's definitely had a moment, which is a shame for him. If he'd done his 22.8, he would have been pushing for second place, or at least minimum starting on the second row. Hadjar, not a lot separating him from his teammate. A good improvement for Hadjar there, regardless of Max's mistake. Only half attempt separating him and Verstappen. Piastri faltered there on the last attempt in P7. Liam Lawson starts best of the rest in P8 ahead of Nico Hülkenberg, and Charles Leclerc starts P10 because of that crash in Q3. And well, it's a day of what if maybe for Charles Leclerc, but he'll look at Lewis Hamilton starting P2 on the front row and say, that should be me. But alas, it is not. He crashed into the barrier. Arvid 11th, Bortoletto 12th, Colapinto 13th, Gasly, it will be starting 14th, Behrman 15th, Sainz 16th, Ocon 17th, Albon 18th, Perez 19th, Bottas 20th, Stroll 21st, and Alonso is starting 22nd. The first time the streak is over, ladies and gentlemen. Lance Stroll has, for the first time in his career, alongside Fernando Alonso, out-qualified him on pace alone. So Lance Stroll ahead of Fernando Alonso, potentially his last ever race weekend at Barcelona. And there we go, guys. My goodness. My goodness. Ooh, that was close, man. That was close. I saw that middle sector. Look at the sectors. Shall we look at the sectors? And, well, look at that. Where did that middle sector come from Lewis? I mean, what this shows, and I'm not taking anything away from Lewis, but what this shows for track position in qualifying is super key. Going out last is risky, but it's worth the risk. It's definitely worth the risk. Kimi went out first. He's 3 attempts off pole. George did go second, so there's not much of an excuse there. There's not much of an excuse because George was second behind Antonelli, so Antonelli definitely down on pace. But normally Antonelli's last, and he ends up getting pole position, or at least like second. And Hamilton, I think, this is the first time Hamilton and Ferrari have gone last in the pecking order when it comes to Q3, or the running order. And look at the advantage they got there. So I think that's something that teams will be looking at And they may be playing some games. There may be some games later on in this as the season progresses with track evolution and so forth with this current set of regulations and, importantly, the tyres as well. Because the later you go out, yes, it's the riskier because your lap time can be faulted like Lando Norris's was when Charles Leclerc crashed. Although, actually, to be fair, the red flag, he wasn't going to get affected by the yellow flag. It was the red flag. But even so, like, the later you go out, there's always potential red flags, yellow flags, faulting your laps. But if you don't get that, then the benefit is definitely worth the risk. Hamilton Sector 1 was only 0.01 seconds slower. It was a good yellow. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yellow is technically slower, but it doesn't mean it's dramatically slower. So, yeah, a great first sector from him. And the last sector, maybe he just ran out a bit of tyres. Last sector could be literally just a slight not hesitancy, but just not getting on throttle a fraction of a second earlier. That's how small the margin is there for Lewis and George. I'm interested to see. What's always great, guys, as well, is looking at the ghost laps, the comparison laps. I think they still do that on Formula One, but they're always good to compare and see where those differences were. I'm intrigued to see where the Mercedes strength was and the Ferrari strength was in that lap. The race tomorrow is going to be interesting for sure. I still expect Mercedes to be stronger on their overall race pace, but look, Lewis is in a good position to try and maximise points tomorrow at a weekend when really there was expecting themselves to be very far off the pace. So still got a deal with Norris, Verstappen and that behind, but there's an opportunity of Lewis scoring an unlikely podium this weekend when they weren't expecting it. But George Russell, speaking of George, wow. Man needed it. He needed it. Job number 1 done. Job number 2 will be leading into the first corner, and if he can do that, which is tough to do, starting P1 at Barcelona because of how far the run is down into turn 1, then he'll be hoping that his engine just holds out. If Lewis is going to win the championship, it's this year. Kimi might fold. George might have more. Should have more points. Ferrari need to take advantage and develop that car ASAP. I mean, yeah, they need a power unit, don't they? They need a power unit. But it's interesting. We said it, didn't we? We said it in Q2, heading into Q3. There was just a suspicion that how high these track temps are, but they were nullifying the performance advantage that the Mercedes has. Like, I still think they'll probably win comfortably tomorrow. The difference tomorrow is going to be... The difference tomorrow is going to be tyre degradation, 100%. That's going to be key. I don't know how good Mercedes are on their tyre deg compared to the rest of the field. I don't know. But if it's this hot tomorrow, which I think it's going to be, there's potential that Mercedes' advantage isn't that high. But that's really going to decide the race tomorrow. The race is going to be decided tomorrow, I think, primarily through strategy and the degradation of the cars, because they're going to be on higher fuel. The car's going to perform very different. Strategy and Ferrari are two words that don't really mix, do they? But we'll see. I think it's going to be a long race tomorrow. We're going to get safety cars. So there's potential. There's opportunities to have attack and for things to happen, you know? Tomorrow should be a good race. Hopefully we get Russell versus Kimi Part 2 like in Canada. I hope so. I mean, I just hope we get a decent battle, yeah. We need George and Kimi to fight and collide a couple of times for Lewis to win the title. Look, it's a long season. Look, Ferrari could bring... If Lewis stays... Let's look at this hypothetical, right? Let's just look at this hypothetical. So Mercedes are dominant right now. Kimi's dominant in particular. Let's say next couple of races, Lewis, or let's say Ferrari... Okay, they're rumored to have a new engine by. They reckon they can get one by Spa, which is in just 2 rounds' time. We've only got Austria. We've only got this race, Austria, and Silverstone to go. So that is round 10. Round 10. They reckon they could have a new engine by. That's the rumors. if Lewis keeps within touching distance of Kimi over the next 3 races, and then you come to Belgium, and then all of a sudden, this is peak Ferrari delusion. Yes, I agree. It's a hypothetical. That's why I say it's hypothetical. And they bring an engine that is even comparative to Mercedes. Championship on. Championship on. Just saying, it's a hypothetical. Because really, the difference right now between Ferrari and Mercedes is purely the power unit. But that's a big if. That's a big if. I don't know. I don't know. Comparative to Merc is a win. Yes, it is. It very much is, yeah. Just hope the championship gets exciting. That's all I want. I mean, obviously, it'd be great to see Lewis. I am a Lewis fan, as I said. It'd be great to Lewis involved in the fight. But if it's George back in the fight with Kimi, and that inter-team battle, because I think that could get spicy. I think it will get spicy. If George starts to close that gap, that will get spicy. There will be collisions. And, yeah, we'll see how that goes. And then we'll see who Toto favours. Because I think it's quite clear and obvious that Toto favours Antonelli. But if George is forcing the hand, and there's collisions and Antonelli's at fault, how fair will he be? How is he going to treat Antonelli and George? That's going to be interesting. The politics behind it is going to be interesting. There is a chance that the Mercedes are unreliable and Lewis could close gaps if Merc continues with issues. Yeah. I mean, Ferrari have been, one of the most reliable cars? Other than Charles crashing. Haven't they been pretty reliable? I know they've had some deployment issues in qualifying at the start of the season, but I think mostly they've made a reliable car. Lewis's car development is definitely hindering Charles, but it benefits Ferrari overall. I mean, that is definitely a potential. There's 100% been influence from Lewis on this car. He said that. He's had influence on the development of the car. And yeah, maybe Charles, maybe it's now starting to... The development of the Ferrari is heading in a direction that is starting to distance itself away from Charles's capability. Charles is a brilliant driver. I said it before. He's a brilliant driver, but I've never seen such a brilliant driver crash so often. And the greats are not only quick, but they're consistent as well. And that's the thing. What's my prediction for tomorrow? Well, I'm sticking with my prediction that I had at the start of the week, which is George first, Kimi second, Lewis third. I'm still sticking with that. I still think that the Mercedes is the best car, and I think over a race duration, I still think that they'll be comfortable for the win, or at least the 1-2. Behind that, I don't know. It all I think a lot of it depends on degradation. I think McLaren looks good. I think Hamilton needs to be wary of Norris tomorrow, for sure. Verstappen, I don't know. Difficult to say with Red Bull at the moment. I really don't know where they're at. 1 minute that car looks like it's all over the place. The next minute they're putting in decent lap times. So I don't know. But I think from what I've seen from the onboards of the Red Bull, I think their degradation, that car's sliding around a little bit more than the others, and I think they might suffer with the deg tomorrow. And then McLaren I feel like McLaren have always built a good car when it comes to degradation. But yeah, we'll see. A lot of the race depends tomorrow on that, how they manage the strategy. And Hamilton and Norris are very good at managing their tyres, very good. As is Max, of course, as well. But there's only so much they can do with the car underneath them. Aaron, now development is hindering Charles Leclerc. Nope, him crashing is hindering Charles Leclerc. I mean, yes. I mean, he's clearly all sorts with how comfortable the car feels, for definite. I don't know. He's saying it was the brakes initially. But one thing is for sure is that he is... I don't know with Charles. I feel like, as we touched upon earlier, I mean, looking back at the incident, was it... I wonder, obviously in hindsight's a beautiful thing, but at that moment, as he's already had the twitch through that steering wheel, through that corner, I'm not so sure it was worth getting back on throttle as early as he did. Like, I don't think when he's had that moment through turn 4, I know it's early in the lap, but I almost feel like, you know what, it's probably not worth. I have to bail out of this. But maybe Monaco was still playing on his mind, because that's what happened in his first run in Q3 in Monaco as well, wasn't it? Is that he had a twitch and he had to bail out of the lap as well. So maybe that also was on his mind. I need to stay in this. It's difficult to know. Taco, you feel like Red Bull is all over the place on Fridays, and they always seem to turn it around on Saturday. That's been their... Yeah, Red Bull's baseline setup as they head into weekends is always pretty subpar. We've seen that the last few years, and then they take the data they've gathered on Friday. I mean, their simulator drivers must be like putting in the hours and probably on a decent amount of money, because they probably do a lot of all-nighters to dial in the data and the setup from Friday to Saturday. Because yes, they take that data from Friday, pump it in the simulator, do all that work, and then come Saturday morning, the car's in a much better state. It is very impressive what they're able to do. I imagine they'd like to at least sort out the baseline setup though, starting on a Friday, because it'd make their weekend a lot more comfortable. Charles is a bottle job, but he was quicker than Lewis, so it would have been interesting where he could have qualified. Yeah, but it's all well and good being quick, but if you can't keep it on track, if you can't finish races, this is what the greats do. Like, you have to look at their consistency. Hamilton was all. Name me the last time Hamilton. Did he crash this year? I don't think he has crashed this year. But like, you think over the last 10 years, right? Let's say since even in his career. But if you look at since he joined Mercedes, try and name the amount of times he's crashed, like through his own driver mistake, through qualifying or just kind of out on his own. When you're racing wheel to wheel, it's a bit different. But when you're driving on your own in qualifying or just in a race in general, like push him and crash, name the amount of times Lewis has done that. Even Max. Like, Max is a super consistent driver, and I think that's something that goes under the radar for him. Like, you look at the amount of times that they've crashed, it's not a lot. Max has crashed into other people, yes. That's different, though, racing wheel to wheel. Brazil qualifying 2017. I forgot that one. What happened in that one? But, like, you have the 2021 Baku. That was, what, the brake magic button. Slightly different there, I think. Zandvoort, before that, 2022 Austria. Okay. But you have to go back quite a few years. You have to, like, there's not many. Considering how long his hair... I mean, his hair's very long this week. But considering how long his career has been, there's not a lot, is there? Same with Max. Yes, Max crashed a few times on his first, like, few years. But Charles is still doing it 10 years later, nearly 10 years into the sport. He's still doing it. Still crashing the car by going too much over the limit, by crashing it under his own volition. Whereas other drivers don't do that. Or at least they start off their careers like it, and then they dial it out. And they become more and more consistent. And that's what differentiates the greats. They're not only quick, but they're able to consistently keep the car on track and be quick. And dial out those errors and dial out those crashes. The fact that everyone is struggling to think of one says it all, does it not? That is the point. Exactly. But that's what I mean. Max and Lewis never crashed by their own mistakes. Well, when did anyone say they never crashed? No, they crashed, but there's few of them. There's few of them. You have to go back quite a few years for that to be the case. And even then, you look at how long their careers have been in Formula One, excluding collisions with teammates and stuff, because I'm not talking about mistakes wheel to wheel. I'm talking about just driving under your own steam. That is the difference between Charles and the fastest drivers in the sport, or other like drivers. Don't get me wrong, Charles has been in a team that hasn't consistently been able to provide race wins to him because he has a ridiculous amount of pole positions. and the team haven't been able to convert them because they just haven't had the car. But that's not his fault, but the fault of his is overdriving too often. Do I think Hamilton will hold on to P2 tomorrow? Personally, no. I don't know what the tyre deck is like and the race pace is of the Ferrari. That's something I haven't personally looked into. If there's one driver that can look after their tyres and has the ability to do that around this track, Lewis Hamilton is someone you'd definitely be confident in to be able to do that. I think he's fighting for P3. I do think that probably the Mercedes is still the best car. Let's be real. We're all surprised he's P2. Not because of the driver, but just because of the car. Like, no one thought heading into this weekend and throughout this weekend from practice, but that Ferrari would be P2. Let's be real. So that is a surprise to us all. I think the track temps have definitely helped peg back the Mercedes advantage and help the other teams. If the track temps are similar tomorrow, which I think they're going to be, then that bodes well, yes, for the other teams. But I think Mercedes still have too much. But it's going to be a long race tomorrow. It's going to be multiple stops. It's probably going to be minimum one safety car. Whether you're on the right side of that safety car can play an advantage. Whether you're on the wrong side of it, of course. If there's multiple safety cars because of how many reliability issues we've seen already this weekend. But throughout this season, there's a lot that can determine the race result tomorrow. And this is a track that I think you'll be able to overtake at. Because of the deg, because there'll be a tyre delta. Some teams are going to be better on their tyres than others. And also, I think the overtake mode is going to be powerful here. And that's something that we've seen this season where the overtake mode has been effective. And you will be able to get past and overtake down into the first corner or at other areas, especially if you have the tyre advantage. So it's going to be an interesting race tomorrow. Looks like Charles has had a crash every year since 2018. Is it every year? I wanted to go back and look at it, but even in practice, that's what I mean. Even in practice, he's had a crash. Crazy from Ferrari in grand scheme of things with no engine upgrades, just chassis and parts. Yeah, no, it's a massive. And that's the thing. If they can improve their power unit, think of where they could be. Leclerc is crashing when he isn't even in the title fight. And that's also it as well, David. And people, I do to some degree get the excuse. Charles is trying to get more out of the car. He's trying to get more out of the car because he's trying to maximize it. But at the same time, like you have to know in yourself, like it's better to finish than not to, you know? But I feel like he doesn't play the percentages often enough. He goes, oh, I'm just gonna. I get trying to want to get more out of the car, but at sometimes like you need to have a realization of where your car is at. And I think in hindsight, I said it's a beautiful thing. He should have probably backed out of that lap. And maybe Monaco in that brief moment, maybe Monaco was still playing on his mind with Q3, and he bowed out of that first lap, which then cost him in his second lap, didn't he? And he hit the wall crashing at Monaco, even in his second run in Q3. Hadjar, can we talk about him? Yeah, of course. Yeah, Hadjar, great drive. I mean, great drive from him. Max, to be honest, that gap is a bit nice. That final gap is a bit nice on Hadjar. Verstappen had a moment, I think, in the last sector. I'm still yet to see it, but it was uncharacteristically slow, around 23 seconds. And we can see fastest sectors here. So if he'd done that time there, a 22.8, right, he would have ended up 2 tenths quicker, basically, than Hadjar. But still, better from Hadjar, because he was struggling this weekend as well, so he was able to turn it. I'm not going to end the stream. I'm going to end the stream very shortly, yeah, because I need to go. I'm just watching the difference here between Verstappen. They're analysing Hamilton and George Russell's lap here. I wanted to see what happened in the last sector. Charles holding in lots of frustration. It's going to keep growing if he pushes it like this. Yeah, and look, and the more and more as well, the more and more Lewis Hamilton is able to get a performance out of the car, the more pressure Charles is going to feel. Because Lewis Hamilton, like, he wants to beat him. Your first competition is your teammate, and he will want to beat him. And I think he is a bit rattled, yeah. And one thing that will just grind a competitor down is your level of consistency. And this is the thing. Charles's bad days are bad days. He crashes out. Lewis's bad days, and I've said this about the greats, and this is the case for all sports. The greats their level of performance on their good days is always very high. Of course, we know that, but it's not. That doesn't separate them from the normal professionals. What makes them great is that even on their bad days, they are still that much better than everyone else. They're still super consistent, and that's what the greats do, and that's what grinds down all of Max Verstappen's teammates, Lewis Hamilton's teammates over the years, and Michael Schumacher. And yes, of course, there's favoritism and so forth, and you could talk about development and that, but they are honoured that favoritism and that priority because of how consistent they are and how they're able to churn out results. And Charles is mega quick on his day, but he does this too often. First time since Vettel, Charles Leclerc has had a teammate that can push him off of consistency alone. It's been a minute. Yeah, and it's only the early stages of the season. I think Charles normally drives just over the limit, and if the car isn't the way he likes the car, swap ends and ends up in big damage. Yeah, I mean, look, it's still a long season. Plenty of time for Charles to turn it around. He could still pull out a result tomorrow, but he's starting P10. And what will hurt him even more is that he will look at it and go, do you know what? You know what? I was on top of Lewis, and that'll be even more frustrated to him, is that he was on top of Lewis this weekend, primarily due to the fact that Lewis missed FP1. So he was, which makes kind of this even a little bit more impressive, should you say. He missed FP1, and he ended up a practice session behind and stuck it on second place and nearly put it on pole. And his teammate, who he would have seen in every session that he had probably comfortably in his back pocket, has now nearly put it on pole position. He's starting on the front row, has an opportunity of leading the race tomorrow. Who knows what can happen? And he's starting P10 because he's in the wall. So there we go. There we go. What's that in relation to my sim racing? What did you ask, Adam? Do I do sim racing? It'd be cool to see that. I do, but as Taco said, I'm not quite retired. I'm on an extended break. Since having my little girl, I just don't have the same amount of time that I used to. I've taken a step up in responsibility with my day job, doing F1 as well. I've got back in the gym, looking after my health and so forth. I just don't have. I say I don't have the time. I could make time, but my priorities have changed, understandably, as life goes on. I'm sure I will get back to sim racing, and when that will be, I don't know. But yeah, when I do, I will live stream it for sure. But I'm on an extended break at the moment from live streaming. Live streaming sim racing anyway, and doing sim racing. Because I do enjoy it, but I'm adulting. Yes, I know. In my mid-30s, I'm adulting. Took me long enough. But yeah, there we go, guys. We'll be back tomorrow, of course. Join me for the race an hour before it begins. We have, of course, it's going to be important tomorrow. Strategy corner is going to be important. We need to look at the all-important strategies on offer, tyre allocations, because that is going to be a big deciding factor in how this race unfolds tomorrow. Of course, safety cars can do that as well. So lots of information to take in before the race begins. So be sure to join us for that an hour before the race starts. I'm going to go set up the live stream now. Hit that notification button so you are always informed half an hour before I go live. So if you do forget to bookmark the live stream, you'll get a notification come through on your device. I forgot about that. Let's join Stuffey's stream. So yes, we'll be live tomorrow. Have a lovely rest of your day. Hit that like and subscribe button one last time, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.